তো তোমরা থাম্বনেল দেখেই বুঝে গেছো যে উচ্চ মাধ্যমিক পরীক্ষার্থীদের মধ্যে এই সাজেশনটি কত গুরুত্বপূর্ণ হতে চলেছে। এখানে শুধু আমাদের 4টি প্রোজের শর্ট কোয়েশ্চেন সম্পর্কে আলোচনা হচ্ছে। এখানে আশা করছি আমাদের 56টি কোয়েশ্চেন আছে, এখানে 56টির মধ্যেই তোমরা পরীক্ষায় পেয়ে যাবে। চলো তাহলে আমরা কোয়েশ্চেনগুলো দেখি। 1 নম্বর কোয়েশ্চেন, হু উন্ডেড দ্য বিয়ার্ডেড ম্যান? সেই দাড়িওয়ালা মানুষটাকে কে আঘাত দিয়েছিল বা কে তাকে অ্যাটাক করেছিল? অ্যান্সার, দ্য জাজ বডিগার্ড অ্যাটাক দ্য বিয়ার্ডেড ম্যান। তাহলে সেই রাজার বডিগার্ড তাকে অ্যাটাক করেছিল। এমনি কোশ্চেনগুলোর বাংলা যদি বুঝিয়ে দিই তাহলে অনেক দেরি হয়ে যাবে, আমি বাংলা বলছি না, তোমরা মুখস্থ করে নেবে। 2 নম্বর কোশ্চেন দেখো, হোয়াট ওয়াজ দ্য ফার্স্ট কোশ্চেন অফ দ্য জার? অ্যান্সার, দ্য ফার্স্ট কোশ্চেন অফ দ্য জার ওয়াজ, হোয়াট ওয়াজ দ্য রাইট টাইম টু বিগিন এভরিথিং? 3 নম্বর কোশ্চেন দেখো, হোয়াট ইজ দ্য ফুল নেম অফ মিসেস জোন্স? অ্যান্সার, দ্য ফুল নেম অফ মিসেস জোন্স ইজ মিসেস লুয়েলা বেটস ওয়াশিংটন জোন্স। 4 নম্বর কোশ্চেন দেখো, হোয়াট ওয়ার দ্য নেসেসারি থিংস কালামস ফাদার প্রোভাইডেড টু হিজ ফ্যামিলি? অ্যান্সার, দ্য কালামস ফাদার প্রোভাইডেড ফুড, মেডিসিন অ্যান্ড ক্লথিং to the family. 5 number question देखो, what could the narrator see in his mind's eye? In his mind's eyes, the narrator could see telegraph posts flashing by. 6 number question देखो, in which language were the prayers chanted in the Mosque? In the mosque, the prayers were chanted in the Arabic. Where did Mrs. Jones work? Answer, Mrs. Jones worked at a hotel beauty shop, or Mrs. Jones worked at hotel beauty shop, or Mrs. Luella Bates worked at a hotel beauty shop, অথবা তোমরা তার পুরো নাম ইউজ করতে পারো। Where did the hermit live? 8 নম্বর কোশ্চেন দেখো, অ্যান্সার, the hermit lived in a wood which he never quitted. 9 নম্বর কোশ্চেন, who did the narrator of the Eyes Habit think to be formidable creatures? According to the narrator, ants were usually formidable creatures. 10 number question देखो, what does Kalam's father say about the importance of prayer? Answer, according to Kalam's father, prayer made possible to communion of the spirit between people. 11 number देखो, what did Abdul Kalam's father used to avoid? Kalam's foster father avoided all inessentials, comforts and luxuries, or তোমরা এখানে inessentials এর জায়গায় unnecessary ইউজ করতে পারো। 12 নম্বর, what was the hermit doing when the jar came to take leave of him? Answer, when the jar came to take leave from the hermit, he was sowing seeds in the beds that had been dug the previous day. 13 number, why did the jar put on simple cloth before meeting the hermit? The jar put on simple clothes before meeting the hermit because the hermit received only common folk. 14 नंबर देखो. The girl described, the question, how did the girl describe the narrator? The girl described the narrator as gallant and serious. 15 number question, what according to the hermit is the most important thing to do? Answer, according to the hermit, the most necessary thing is to do good the man with whom you are now. 16 number question देखो. Who was the high priest of Rameswaram temple? Answer, Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri was the high priest of Rameswaram temple. 17 number question. Where was the girl in the story The Eyes of It getting up? In the story The Eyes of It, the girl would get off at Saharanpur. 18 number question. What did the wounded man promise the jar? Answer, the wounded man promised the jar that he and his sons would serve the jar as his most faithful slaves because the jar had saved his life. 19 number question देखा. Why did the narrator think that his voice must have startled the girl? Answer, the narrator thought that his voice must have startled the girl because she gave a little exclamation and said that she did not know anyone else there. Number question. How was Abdul Kalam's mother lineage different from his father's? APJ Abdul Kalam's mother lineage was more distinguished than that of his father since one of her ancestors had been bestowed the title of Bahadur by British. 21 number question. What did Mrs. Jones call the boy a liar? Answer, the lady said that the boy was a liar because the letter said that he had not intended to take her first. 22 number question. What was the second question of the jar? The second question of the jar was, who were the most necessary people to listen to? 23 number question. What shoes and jeans was Roger wearing? Roger was wearing tennis shoes and blue jeans. 24 number question. Whom did Kalam considered to be a very close friend of his father? Answer, Kalam considered Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri to be a very close friend of his father. 25 number question देखो. When and where did Roger and Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones meet? Roger and Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones met on the open road at about 11 o'clock at night. 26 number question. What does Kalam's father say about the relevance prayer? Answer, according to Kalam's father, prayers makes possible a communion of spirit between people and thought it a man can go beyond his bodily existence to become the part of cosmos. Most important question notice. Why did the jar put on simple clothes before meeting the hermit? The hermit received only common folk, and the jar did not want to reveal his identity. What advice did Mrs. Jones give to Roger at the end of the story? Answer, Mrs. Jones advised not to steal or take away something by unfair means and to behave properly himself. 29 number question देखो. Describe the ancestral house of Kalam. It was built in the middle of 19th century, a fairly large Pakka house made of limestone and brick on the Moscow street in Rameswaram. 30 number question. What remark did the narrator make about people with good eyesight? They fail to see what is right in front of them. How did the jar meet the hermit? The jar put on simple clothes, disguised as a common man without bodyguards, and went alone. তারপর দেখো 32 নম্বর কোশ্চেন. What did Mrs. Luella Jones ask the boy to pick up? Mrs. Jones, এখানে লুয়েলা বেটস আর মিসেস জোন্স লুয়েলাটা যা তোমরা ইউজ করবে, ওখানে হয় টাইপিং মিস্টেক হয়ে গেছে. মিসেস লুয়েলা জোন্স asked the boy to pick up her pocketbook. 33 number question देखो. What were the second question of the jar? The second question of the jar was who were the most necessary people to listen to. 23 number question. What were the eyes of the narrator in the alphabet sensitive to? The eyes of the narrator were sensitive only to light and darkness in the alphabet. According to Mrs. Jones, how old was the boy? According to Mrs. Jones, the boy was 14 or 15 years old. 36 number question देखो. Where did the blind girl get into the train? The blind girl got into the train at Rohna. 37 number question. Who came to see the girl up? A couple, probably her parents, come to Rohana to see the girl up. 38 number question. How did the narrator feel that the girl wore slippers? The narrator knew that the girl wore slippers from the sound of her slippers slapping against her heels. Who would receive the girl at Saharanpur? Answer. The blind girl's aunt would receive her at Saharanpur. 40 number question. According to the narrator, what is the best time to visit the hills? Answer. According to the narrators, October is the best time to visit the hills. এখানে অক্টোবর ইজ দ্য বেস্ট টাইম, এটা ডিগ্রিতে প্রচুর পরিমাণে দেয়. 41 নম্বর কোশ্চেন দেখো. হু ওয়াজ দ্য আইডল হেল্পমেট অফ কালামস ফাদার? Asiamma was the idle helpmates of Kalam's father. 42 number question देखो. What did Kalam's father used to avoid? Abdul Kalam's father avoid all inessentials. এখানে হবে আমার টাইপিং মিস্টেক. inessentials or তোমরা ইউজ করতে পারো unnecessary. এখানে কোশ্চেনটা ডবল হয়ে গেছে. ইন এসেন্সিয়ালস অর আননেসেসারি কমফর্টস অ্যান্ড লাক্সারিজ. এডিটের কোনো অপশন আছে? আচ্ছা ছাড়া. 43 43 নম্বর কোয়েশ্চেন দেখো. হুইচ টেম্পল মেড রামেশ্বরম ফেমাস টু পিলগ্রিমস? Answer. The Shiva temple made Rameswaram famous to pilgrims. 44 number. According to Kalam's father, what does adversity always present? According to Kalam's father, adversity always presents opportunities for introspection. 45 number question देखो. What did the boy fail to snatch the purse? The boy failed to snatch the purse because the combined weight of the boy and the bag made him lose his balance. 46 number. Where did Luella take the boy in Thank You, Ma'am? Luella took the boy to her large kitchenette furnished room. Why did Roger want to snatch the large purse of Mrs. Jones? Roger wanted to snatch the large purse of Mrs. Jones because he wanted the money to buy a pair of blue suede shoes. 48 number question देखो. What was the third question of the jar? The third question of the jar এখানে TSAR হবে. Was what was the most important thing to do? What did Mrs. Jones give Roger at the end of the dinner? Mrs. Jones gave Roger a half of 10-cent cake at the end of the dinner. 50 number देखो. How much did Mrs. Jones give Roger and why? Answer. Mrs. Jones gave Roger $10 to buy his cherished blue suede shoes. 51 number देखो. Whom did the hermit receive? The hermit received none but the common folk. 52 number. Where did the hermit live? The hermit lived in a wood which never couldn't. এটা মনে হয় double question হয়ে গেছে. Where was the man's wound? The man's wound was in his stomach. 54 number देखो. Where did the jar fall asleep? The jar fell asleep. এখানেও typing mistake. SLEEP হবে. On the threshold of the hermit's hut. 55 number देखो. The man wanted to take revenge. अरे बाबा. 55 number question. Why did the man want to take revenge? Answer. The man wanted to take revenge on the jar because the jar had once executed his brother and seized his property. 56 number question देखो. According to the hermit, what is the most important time? According to the hermit, the most important time is the present. এখানে তোমাদের 4টি প্রোজই কভার হয়ে গেছে. দেখছি আগামী দিনে তোমাদের পোয়েমগুলো কভার করব, শর্ট কোশ্চেন প্লাস লং কোশ্চেন. তোমাদের গ্রামার কভার করব, তোমাদের রাইটিং কভার করব. আর যদি কোশ্চেনগুলো খুব উপকারী বলে মনে হয় তাহলে লাইক এবং সাবস্ক্রাইবটি করতে ভুলবেন না.